The film opens with two twin girls, one sitting in a rocking chair being rocked by the other. The girl rocking the chair stops momentarily and bashes the face of the girl in the rocking chair until she bleeds into unconsciousness. Julia Sullivan is a young schoolteacher for deaf children living in Savannah, Georgia. She has horrid memories of her childhood, which was scarred by her sadistic twin sister Mary. At the urging of her uncle, James, a local Catholic priest, Julia visits Mary, suffering from a severe skin disease, in a mental institution. The meeting does not go well, and Mary vows to make Julia suffer as she had suffered. As their mutual birthday approaches, Julia learns that Mary has escaped the mental institution. Soon after, several of Julia's friends and neighbors begin to die gruesome deaths in the house she lives in, some involving a mysterious Rottweiler dog who attacks its victims, mauling them to death. One of Julia's students, Sasha Robertson Jr., is killed in a park by the Rottweiler one afternoon. Meanwhile, Julia becomes increasingly unnerved that someone, possibly Mary, is hiding inside her large house. One evening, when being dropped off by her psychologist boyfriend Sam Edwards, she witnesses a light on the house's second floor but finds no one there. Helen, Julia's friend, offers to spend the night with her. In the middle of the night, she is attacked by the Rottweiler on the staircase. The dog attacks and kills her, tearing open her throat. Julia awakes the following day and finds Helen gone. Given no evidence of the attack, Julia assumes she went home early. Sam visits her and tells her he is forced to take a business trip to San Francisco over Julia's upcoming birthday. Later, on the same day, Father James is carrying things into the basement of Julia's home. The landlord, Amantha Beauregard, passes by and offers to help him take a large bag. He tells her he is throwing Julia a surprise birthday party. Once in the basement, Amantha realizes she has just helped James carry a corpse. He then chases her through the house and stabs her to death in the attic. The next day, on Julia's birthday, James meets her after work and takes her to her house, blindfolding her for a surprise. In the basement, he removes the blindfold, revealing a table seated with corpses, including Helen and Amantha. When she attempts to escape, Julia is confronted by Mary and is taken back into the basement to be tied up. James stabs Mary shortly thereafter. Meanwhile, Sam's taxi to the airport is stalled by a flat tire. When his speech gets ruined, he returns to the house to get a copy and is attacked by the Rottweiler. The dog attempts to break through a door, but Sam manages to kill it by driving a power drill into its head. In the basement, Sam frees Julia, who then murders her uncle James by repeated blows with a hatchet. As Julia sits on the basement stairs, Mary briefly comes to life and attempts to strangle Julia. With her last dying breath, Mary warns that Julia will never be free. The film ends with Julia weeping and a quote by G.B. Shaw. Near the end of camping season, a group of senior counselors and campers, including T.P., Betsy, Ellie, Dave, Stacy, Bill, Richie, and the middle-aged head counselor Max, are gathered around a campfire. Max tells them the legend of Madman Mars, who murdered his wife and children with an axe in a nearby abandoned house. He was lynched and scarred by angry villagers, but somehow escaped from his noose into the woods. When Max warns the campers that saying his name aloud will summon him, Richie mockingly shouts his name aloud and throws a rock through the window of Mars's old home, to Max's annoyance. After finishing the story, the counselors and campers all return to their campsite, except for Richie, who spots a figure in the trees and stays behind to follow him. Unknown to him, the figure is Mars, having been summoned by Richie's incitement. Richie enters Mars's home, but finds no trace of him. Max leaves the campsite to get supplies and spend the night out on his own, leaving the others in charge. The campsite's drunken chef is killed by Mars while the other counselors relax. When Dave discovers Richie is missing, T.P. sets out into the woods to look for him, but is caught by Mars, who hangs him from a tree with a noose. Dave then sets out to look for both of them and is decapitated by Mars. Stacy, who has by now become suspicious, leaves Betsy to watch the children and warns Ellie and Bill. She then drives out into the woods and discovers Dave's body. In a panic, she tries to escape in her truck, but it stalls. When she exits the truck to fix it, Mars jumps onto the hood of the truck while she is still under it, decapitating her. After Ellie discovers Mars taking Stacy's body away, she and Bill attempt to escape in the truck themselves, but Mars pulls Bill out of the truck and kills him. Ellie flees back to the campsite, but Mars stalks her through the cabins and eventually hits her in the chest with his axe. Meanwhile, having been lost in the woods for some time, Richie returns to Mars's home. He enters the basement and is horrified by what he sees there. Betsy glimpses Ellie's bloodied body through the cabin window and phones Max to warn him. She arms herself with a double-barrel shotgun after seeing Mars running through the camp, but accidentally shoots and kills the wounded Ellie when Mars throws her against the window. The children are awoken by the gunshot, and Betsy immediately orders them onto the bus. Mars tries to board the bus, but Betsy fends him off. After ordering the bus driver to bring the children to safety, Betsy pursues Mars into his home, but he overpowers her and drags her into the basement where he has been keeping all the bodies of his victims, including those of his wife and children. Mars impales Betsy on a coat rack, but she manages to wound him with a hunting knife before dying, causing him to knock over a candle and start a fire. Mars escapes into the forest as the house burns down. As Max is driving back to camp, he encounters a traumatized Richie on the road, who tells him that Madman Mars is real. Mars is then seen stalking through the forest, waiting to be summoned again. Cheerleader Allison is tormented by nightmares revolving an impending cheerleading competition. She arrives at cheerleader camp to train with her teammates, where she rooms with the mascot, Corey, who is often ridiculed by the cheerleaders, and Camp Hurrah's head coach Miss Tipton. Allison's boyfriend, Brent, immediately begins flirting with a blonde cheerleader named Susie. The girls go to the river where they sunbathe, and are spied on by Tim, a member of Allison's cheering team. Also watching them is Sheriff Poucher, who gets interrupted by the camp handyman, Pop. The next morning, Allison finds Susie in her cabin with her wrists cut, dead of an apparent suicide. The next day, Allison goes into the kitchen walk-in refrigerator in search of a drink and discovers Susie's corpse on a shelf. The police are called, and Miss Tipton explains to Sheriff Poucher that, in order to protect her job, she did not want to report Susie's death until the program was finished. The sheriff assures Tipton that he will take care of the matter, and the deal is sealed by the pair having sex, an act which is caught on video by Tim. As the result of a prank, the sex tape is broadcast the next day instead of a video of the camp's cheer routines. In the meantime, Brent has begun to flirt with teammate Pam, concerning Allison. Allison has a nightmare in which she cheers along with a group of mascots as Brent has sex with Pam. At the river the next day, Brent and Pam leave to have sex. They argue, however, and he leaves Pam in the woods where she is murdered with garden shears by an unseen killer. That evening, Allison has a dream in which she kills Pam. The next day at the competition, Allison worries that she may have hurt Pam in a fit of rage and not remembered it. She mentions this to Corey, who assures her that she slept through the night. On the day of the competition, Pam is nowhere to be found. Corey competes in the mascot dance contest, but the competition is awarded to another by Tipton. During the team's improvised routine, Tim falls off stage, knocking Pop to the ground in the process, prompting the handyman to declare, "I hope you die." During the Camp Queen competition, Teresa, who has become increasingly worried about Pam, goes to find her. Corey and Brent follow separately into the woods to look for Pam and Teresa, and Miss Tipton sends Pop to search for her as well. Teresa finds Pam's body in the woods, and is chased down by a van before getting crushed against a tree. In the meantime, Allison and Bonnie compete for title of queen, which Bonnie wins. Tim manages to impress a cheerleader from another team and takes her outside to have sex with her. He returns almost immediately with his hand covered in blood and reveals that he has found Teresa's body. Brent announces at the party that there is a killer on the loose, prompting the cheerleaders to panic and flee in their cars. Miss Tipton stumbles drunkenly into the woods to search for Pam, but she is soon killed. Allison, Corey, Bonnie, Tim, and Brent try to drive away, only to discover that their car has been tampered with, rendering it undrivable. The four hear gunshots in the woods, causing them to run separate directions. Allison returns to the van followed by Brent, Bonnie, and Corey, who claims someone attacked her in the woods. Brent retrieves Timmy's video camera in the woods, where they watch Timmy being killed on tape. The four set a booby trap using a bear trap in the tool shed, which inadvertently kills the sheriff. They then encounter Pop, armed with a shotgun. Corey accuses Pop to be the killer and shoots him with a revolver. Back at the camp, Corey and Bonnie go to call the police, leaving Brent alone with Allison. He attempts to have sex with her, but she resists. Corey stumbles in, saying she can't find Bonnie. Brent goes to look for her and Corey tells Allison she thinks Brent may be the killer. Armed with the revolver, Corey sends Allison to shoot Brent. They find him standing over Bonnie's corpse and Allison shoots him. When the police arrive, they charge a distraught Allison with the murders. Corey supports this, claiming that Allison would have done anything to be number one. In the ambulance, Allison insists she only killed Brent, but the detective says that Corey blamed all the murders on her. Allison screams as she is taken away while Corey, dressed in a cheerleading uniform, cheers in front of the camp at dawn. In New York City, a waitress on her way home is assaulted by two muggers and seeks aid from a police officer, who breaks her neck. Over the next 2 nights, this maniac cop commits more murders, prompting Lieutenant McCrae, who was told by his superiors to suppress eyewitness accounts that the killer was wearing a police uniform, to pass on information to a journalist in an attempt to protect civilians. This causes panic and dissent among the city, and results in innocent patrolmen either being shot to death by terrified civilians or avoided on the streets by people afraid of them being the maniac cop. Ellen Forrest, suspecting that her husband Jack may be the maniac cop, follows him to a motel and catches him in bed with fellow officer Teresa Mallory. Distraught, Ellen runs out of the room, and is slain by the killer. Jack is arrested under suspicion of murder, but McCrae believes Jack has been framed. McCrae gets Jack to tell him about his relationship with Mallory, who was attacked by the maniac cop while working undercover as a prostitute. Mallory and McCrae fight off the killer, who is deathly cold even through his gloves and does not appear to breathe. When they shoot him several times, the killer appears unfazed. Mallory hides out in McCrae's apartment while he investigates Sally Noland, the only person Mallory told about her affair. McCrae follows Noland to a warehouse, where she meets with the maniac cop and refers to him as Matt. Returning to police headquarters, McCrae discovers files on Matthew Cordell, an officer who was unjustly put into a maximum security prison at Sing Sing Correctional Facility in the village of Ossining, New York after being framed for police brutality when he was closing in on corruption in City Hall. He was mutilated and killed in a shower room in Sing Sing by other inmates, whom he helped incarcerate. When McCrae and Mallory visit Jack, they tell him they think Cordell is the real killer and plan to visit the chief medical examiner at Sing Sing. McCrae leaves to go to the clerical room, and he is attacked by Sally, who is convinced that Cordell is going to turn on her. After finding an officer hanging from the ceiling, Sally is beaten to death by Cordell. Hearing the commotion, Jack and Mallory leave the interrogation room and find the corpses of numerous officers strewn about the halls of the building. Mallory goes to McCrae's car while Jack searches for Cordell, who disappears after throwing McCrae out a window, killing him. Jack, who looks like the one responsible for the carnage to responding officers, flees with Mallory. The two go to see Sing Sing's medical examiner, who admits that while he was preparing to autopsy Cordell, the officer showed faint signs of life. The examiner secretly released Cordell into Sally's care, convinced he was completely brain dead. During the 50th annual St. Patrick's Day parade, Jack waits outside as Mallory warns Commissioner Pike and Captain Ripley about Cordell, but the two refuse to believe her and have her arrested. Cordell appears and fatally stabs Pike and Ripley, then targets Mallory, knifing the policeman left to guard her. Mallory escapes through a window, while Jack is arrested and placed in a van, which Cordell hijacks. Mallory and another officer chase the van, which Cordell takes to his warehouse hideout. Cordell attacks Mallory and Jack, kills the other officer, and tries to escape in the van when backup arrives. Jack clings to the side of the van and fights for control of it, causing Cordell to drive into a suspended pipe, which impales him. Cordell loses control of the vehicle, which crashes into the river, and sinks. Afterwards, the van is fished out. As it is searched, Cordell's hand emerges from the water. Later in the extended version, the mayor, confident that Cordell is dead, relaxes in his office. After the mayor's assistant leaves the office, Cordell silently appears from behind the curtain and kills the mayor as revenge for framing him.